Hello dear audience. I hope you are good and healthy wherever you are in the world. Meet one of the another short stories today. The name of the story is Bouncing Bullets and the Royal Frog. This book is made electronically. And it has a beautiful story of an funny animal team story. They all try to bring laugh at the king's lips. So I hope you will be with me until the end of the book and like and subscribe your channel. So let's hear from the beginning of the book. Once upon a time, in a faraway land, during the present day, there lived a king known as King Murdak. The king had 2 children, a daughter and a son, and a wife who had recently given birth to their daughter, but she had passed away. The king felt both joy and sorrow upon seeing his newborn child. He was happy for the birth of his daughter, yet saddened by the loss of his wife. Months passed, but the king's heart still carried grief. No matter what anyone did to make him laugh, they could not bring him happiness. The king's minister, whose name was Tetra, said, "Your Majesty, it has been a long time since we last saw a smile on your face. Please, smile a little, you now have a daughter, after all." But the king remained in silent sorrow. Seeing this, the minister decided to act. "I decree," he announced, "that throughout this kingdom, anyone who can make the king laugh shall be rewarded with vast fertile lands and great wealth." This proclamation was sent to every town and village. A few days later, a troop arrived to perform for the king. The minister instructed them to showcase their skills and try to make the king laugh. The troupe began their performance, showcasing funny antics and silly movements, but the king continued to stare off into a corner. Their efforts had no effect on him. The minister then ordered them to be escorted out. Turning to the king, he asked, "My lord, are you not amused?" The king said nothing. The minister then called for the next group. A large crowd gathered around the palace, each hoping to find a way to make the king laugh. Famous singers came and went, but none succeeded in bringing happiness to the king. Days and nights passed, yet no one could make any progress. Even the minister summoned wizards to try their magic, but still, nothing worked. The news even reached the animals of the forest. A bear said to the lion, "Hey friend, I think we can make the king laugh. I'm big and plump, and you roar so well, let's head to the palace." The lion replied, "All right, buddy. Suppose we do make him laugh, then what? Will we get the lands and the money?" The bear said, "Oh boy, if I win, I'll fill the lands with honey farms, and I'll use the money to hire workers." The lion grinned. "And me?" he asked. The bear said, "You'll be right beside me, chief, my friend." They agreed and set off. When they reached the palace gates, the guards refused to let them in. But when the commotion reached the minister, he said, "Let them in, it's fine." The bear and the lion of the forest entered the presence of the king, his children, Minister Tetra, and the gathered crowd. The lion's mighty roar stunned everyone, but it had no effect on the king. The bear tried walking on a wooden barrel and performing ridiculous antics, eventually tumbling to the ground, but still, nothing worked. The minister then ordered them out again. He approached the king once more and said, "My lord, are you not amused? Why are you like this? Wouldn't it be better to smile a little? The people are starting to feel sad, your majesty." The king sighed, "No, minister. Leave me be. I have no patience for anything, my friend." Even this decree reached the donkeys and other farm animals. A group of domestic animals came to see the king. It was evening, and the wind set the palace courtyard's grass dancing. The animals entered the palace with heroic poses, astonishing the crowd. Murmurs filled the air. But the minister's loud voice commanded, "Begin." They started performing their roles. A rooster played the part of a bartender, and the herding dog, standing in for a human, cracked a whip on the donkey backside, shouting. The dog, hurry up, donkey. Move along, if you don't, we'll be stuck here all night. The donkey groaned, ouch, stop, it hurts. If you keep hitting me, I can't focus. The herding dog replied, well, do donkeys even focus? Come on, push yourself, walk. The donkey said, my goodness, this is heavy. My back will break this way. Let's switch roles, you be the donkey, and I'll be the human. The herding dog, having no choice, said, well, no problem, let's switch roles. The donkey replied, take this, fool. Were you trying to hit me? Come on, move. The herding dog, nearly suffocating under the donkey weight, said, my goodness, wait a bit. I need to focus too, it's very heavy. Their performance was so good that the entire audience burst into laughter, but the king remained in mourning. Suddenly, the donkey, holding a whip, approached the king and said, do you need a spanking too? The minister noticed the donkey move and quickly ordered it to be caught and taken away. But the donkey pleaded, please, it was just a joke. Let me kiss your shoe. And with that, it managed to lift the king's shoe. Nevertheless, the guards took them to prison. Night fell, and the herding dog, the rooster, and the donkey were all locked up. The donkey said, honestly, if the minister had led us, the king would have laughed by now. But alas, we are so unlucky. The herding dog said, really? You had to hit me so hard. The rooster said, it doesn't matter. If we had won, we'd now own a huge farm and be relaxing, enjoying the view. The others nodded in agreement. But inside the dark prison, they suddenly heard terrifying laughter. The three huddled together. And then the donkey asked, who are you? What are you doing here? Come out and show yourself. A frog, chained and struggling, said, it's nothing, don't be afraid. I'm just a frog, but, well, I stutter. The donkey stepped closer and said, poor thing, you almost crushed me. Look at me, all skin and bones, and this is how you talk. The frog stutteringly said, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hurt anyone. The herding dog asked, why are you imprisoned here? What's the reason? The rooster said, yes, tell us. We want to know. The frog stutteringly said, I was born a frog. No, wait, a prince. When I was a child, a wicked sorcerer turned me into a frog and made me immortal. When I told the others I was a prince, they laughed at me. They threw me out of the palace, but I came back again. They ignored me again and underestimated me. Then I got into a fight, hit me for real. After that, the minister ordered to. The donkey jumped in mid-sentence, ordered to marry. The frog replied, no, my dear, imprison me. But years have passed since that adventure, my friends. Now I think the king has changed, yet I'm still a prince. This time the rooster interrupted, a princess. Everyone burst out laughing. The frog said, no, a prince. I was a prince. After the conversation and hearing the frog prince's story, he decided to make the king laugh, freeing himself and returning to his previous life. The frog shared his plan, and everyone listened carefully. But first, they needed to get out of the prison. Suddenly, the donkey pulled out his phone from his hoof and dialed, saying, hey, hi. How are you, buddy? What are you up to? Where are you? Got time to come help? Yeah, take note of the address. After the main street, second alley, King Merdak's palace, basement of the palace. Come help. And bring that too, all of that. All three, the frog, the rooster, and the herding dog, gaped in surprise. The herding dog said, hey, donkey, you have a phone?" The donkey replied, "Of course. We're living in the 21st century now." Then he turned to the frog and said, "That was expensive, my friend." The frog said, "It's all right. I just need to be free." They sat for a few minutes when a group approached the prison window. Another donkey said, "Step aside, my friend. I'll handle this myself." He chained himself to the prison bars, revved up his big motorbike, and within minutes, the window was torn off. Everyone climbed out and jumped onto the motorbike. As they rode off, they suddenly realized the frog was still inside the prison. The donkey exclaimed, "Ah, see what I mean? We forgot the frog. Circle back." They quickly returned, freed the frog from his chains, and all hopped back onto the motorbike, heading toward the farm. After taking a rest, the next morning everyone woke up. The frog said, "According to the plan, we move forward." Everyone agreed, and they set off. The frog and his friends entered the palace, and all the onlookers stared at them. The rooster, the donkey, and the herding dog had all changed their appearances in a style reminiscent of a rock band, standing in a row in the corner. The rooster was banging on a huge drum with comic boom, pow sounds, wearing oversized sunglasses. The donkey strummed an electric bass, hopping slightly with each beat, rocking his head like a true rocker. The herding dog played an electric guitar, his tail wagging and head bobbing wildly to the rhythm. The frog began to speak stutteringly, "Friend." Everyone burst into laughter. The frog continued, "This is called a 7-shooter. You only have 7 bullets to shoot me. If you fail, you lose the game." The king glanced at the 7-shooter for a moment and asked, "What kind of game is this?" He told the minister to bring the 7-shooter to him. The minister, looking surprised at the weapon, said, "It's very heavy and dangerous." Once the 7-shooter was in the king's hands, he examined it carefully and asked, "How does it work?" The frog stutteringly said, "Friend." And once again, everyone died laughing. Then he continued, "You must hold it with one hand and press the trigger with your index finger." The king fired his first shot without aiming at the ceiling, and a cloud of dust fell on his head. His first bullet went to waste. Gradually, the king began to enjoy his new toy. He turned to the frog and said, "All right, let's get started." The frog took off his coat, his silver skin shining. Some of the older onlookers remembered who he truly was. Then the frog said, "Let's begin, friend." As the king aimed the 7-shooter at the frog and fired, the frog dodged, and the bullet hit the palace wall. At the same moment, the rock band of the rooster, the donkey, and the herding dog burst into a lively tune, filling the palace with comical beats and guitar riffs. The frog stammered, "Your Majesty, B." Suddenly, the donkey jumped in mid-sentence, banana split. The entire audience burst into laughter. The frog tried again, "B." This time the rooster shouted, "Boar bacon." The audience laughed even harder. The frog attempted to speak again, "B." The herding dog interrupted, "Burrito time." The frog replied, "No, my dear. Your Majesty, your bullet missed. Try again." This time, when the king fired his third shot, the frog leapt into the air. The king aimed at him mid-jump, but missed again. The fourth bullet also went astray. The frog stammered, "B." The donkey shouted, "Bubble wrap." The frog continued, "B." The rooster tried to interject, but the frog cut him off and said, "You have only 3 Bs. Bullets left. Friend." The tempted king said, "All right then, let's go for it." The king kept firing, reaching his last bullet. The frog leapt from side to side, and the king aimed the 7-shooter at him. The audience ducked behind chairs, then peeked out again. The frog jumped to the right, and the king, moving the gun too quickly, pointed it at the minister instead. The minister panicked and ducked. The shot went off, but missed again. The king grew angry, shooting furiously, yet nothing hit. All that could be heard was the repeated click-click of the empty gun. Then the frog said, "Are you ready? How much would you give for me to let you have one more bullet?" The king exclaimed, "Money, gold, the palace jewels, they're all yours." The frog turned to the donkey. "Give the king 1B, he said. It was the final chance. Everyone was both terrified and laughing. Suddenly, the king closed his eyes and fired. The bullet passed straight through the frog's rear and out the other side, leaving a huge hole. Everyone gasped in shock. Then the king burst into laughter, the hall filled with his booming chuckles. He turned to the minister. "Minister Tetra, I got him. Look, he's hilarious." Minister Tetra said, "If you turn the gun a bit, Your Majesty." "Well, yes, excellent shooting, King." The crowd began clapping. The rooster, the donkey, and the herding dog ran to the frog, tears streaming down their faces. "Come back, frog, don't leave us alone," they cried. After a moment, the frog's body healed instantly. He said, "Now's the time, friends. I told you, I am immortal." Suddenly everyone burst into laughter. They all went together toward the king and bowed. Then the frog began to speak, "I am Frog Prince. No, sorry. A prince, along with my friends, Your Majesty." The king, now happy, said, "Yes, indeed. We truly enjoyed it, it was a wonderful performance." The frog stutteringly said, "Your Majesty, you lost it, just like your last bullet from the 7-shooter. But how much did you spend to get one more bullet? Did the bullet return to its place?" The king replied, "All my wealth, jewels, and money. No, the bullet went out, and then it was gone. And yet, you gave me another proposal." The frog stutteringly said, "Yes, Your Majesty. Well, your wife will not return either. Why not choose another? Your children need a mother's love." The king thought for a moment and said, "Ah yes, you are right. I was so obsessed with my wife that I forgot my children." The frog said, "It would be better to find a new wife and hold a celebration so the people can recover from their grief. And, of course, the prize for making you laugh should be settled." The king gave the order, and everyone searched for a wife for the king. Meanwhile, the frog and his friends received fertile lands, money, jewels, and gold. The frog broke the spell by paying the sorcerer and returned to his human form, resuming life as a farmer. A week later, a grand celebration was held, and everyone attended the wedding of the king and his new wife. Joy and laughter returned to King Merdak's lands, and everyone happily resumed their lives. Sometimes, making someone laugh is worth a whole world, even if it comes at a cost. The end. Thank you for being with us so far, and subscribe to your channel to support us, and wait for the continuation of this kind of short stories. And have a great day and another podcast. Bye bye.